Two teenagers, same age, both trying cannabis for the first time. Fast forward 10 years. One becomes a successful entrepreneur, the other struggles with memory problems and anxiety. What made the difference? The answer might surprise you, and it's not what most people think about cannabis and your brain. What's up, everyone? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial topics in health science: how cannabis actually affects your brain. And trust me, this isn't your typical just say no conversation. We're talking real science, real risks, and yes, even real benefits. Because here's the thing, the story of cannabis and brain health isn't black and white. It's incredibly complex. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why that teenager's age made all the difference. Let's start with the most critical piece of this puzzle. Your brain doesn't stop developing until you're about 25. I know you've probably heard this before, but stick with me because the implications are massive. Think of your adolescent brain like a construction site. There's this process called synaptic pruning happening. Basically, your brain is deciding which neural pathways to keep and which to demolish. It's like renovating a house while you're still living in it. Now, what happens when you introduce THC into this delicate process? THC hijacks your brain's endocannabinoid system. That's your body's natural regulatory network that helps control everything from mood to memory. But here's where it gets scary. When you flood this system with external cannabinoids before it's fully developed, you're essentially interfering with the construction crew. Studies show that people who start using cannabis heavily before age 16 or 17 face significantly higher risks for long-term cognitive problems. We're talking persistent issues with memory, attention, and executive function, the very skills you need to navigate adult life successfully. But wait, there's another twist in this story that most people don't realize. The cannabis your parents' generation used? It's nothing like what's available today. Back in the 1970s, average THC content was around 3 to 4%. Today, we're seeing products with 20%, 30%, even 90% THC. It's like comparing a beer to pure grain alcohol. The high-potency THC we see today is directly linked to increased emergency room visits for psychotic episodes, especially among young people. Here's a question that should keep you up at night. If cannabis is just a plant, why are we seeing such dramatic increases in cannabis-related mental health crises in states with legal markets? Now here's where things get really interesting and hopeful. Remember how I mentioned this isn't a black and white story? That's because researchers are discovering that cannabis affects everyone differently, and the key might be personalization. Your genetic makeup plays a huge role in how you respond to cannabis. Some people have variants of the COMT gene that make them particularly vulnerable to psychosis from THC exposure. Others might metabolize cannabinoids differently, affecting both their risk and potential benefits. This is leading to a revolutionary approach: personalized cannabinoid therapy. Instead of the current one-size-fits-all approach dominated by high THC products, imagine if we could match specific cannabinoid profiles to your unique biology and needs. This brings us to CBD, and this is where things get fascinating. While THC gets most of the attention, CBD acts like THC's responsible older sibling. It's what scientists call a negative allosteric modulator of the CB1 receptor. Basically, it can reduce THC's ability to bind to receptors, potentially reducing anxiety, paranoia, and psychosis risk. Products with balanced THC-CBD ratios, or even high CBD, low THC formulations, offer a completely different risk profile. We're talking about potential anti-inflammatory anti-anxiety, and even neuroprotective benefits without the cognitive impairment risks of high THC products. But here's something that'll blow your mind. Most of the brain damage we've attributed to cannabis might not be from cannabis alone. When researchers looked deeper, they found that many cannabis users also use alcohol and tobacco, creating what they call a toxic cocktail for the brain. The combination of cannabis and alcohol has been shown to reduce synaptic plasticity in the prefrontal cortex more than either substance alone. Some studies suggest that tobacco and alcohol use may actually contribute more to structural brain damage than cannabis itself. This is huge because it means many studies might have been blaming cannabis for damage caused by multiple substances. Now let's talk about what happens when cannabis becomes legal, because the results are more complex than you might expect. For younger people, especially those under 35, legalization has correlated with some concerning trends. We're seeing increases in emergency room visits for psychotic disorders and more hospitalizations related to high-potency cannabis use. The commercialization has made powerful products more accessible to developing brains. But here's the plot twist. For older adults, particularly those over 60, medical cannabis legalization has been linked to better mental health outcomes. These folks are often using cannabis to manage chronic pain, which indirectly improves their overall well-being, and may even reduce their use of more harmful substances like opioids. So what do we do if someone's already experiencing cannabis-related problems? This is where modern treatment approaches are getting really sophisticated. Gone are the days of just quit being the only advice. Today's most effective interventions combine cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing, and even cutting-edge techniques like neurofeedback, where people learn to literally retrain their brain activity in real time. There's also emerging research on supplements like N-acetylcysteine, which might help normalize the brain's glutamate system that gets disrupted by chronic cannabis use. We're even seeing promising results with cognitive remediation training. Basically, brain exercises designed to strengthen neural pathways weakened by heavy use. Here's something controversial but important. Harm reduction guidelines acknowledge that some people will use cannabis regardless of the risks. So instead of just saying, "Don't do it," public health experts are developing evidence-based strategies to minimize harm. The key guidelines are actually pretty straightforward. Delay use until at least age 25, choose low-potency products with balanced CBD-THC ratios, avoid daily use, don't smoke it, and never combine it with alcohol or other substances. It's like having a designated driver for your brain. But here's what really gets me fired up. The way cannabis is being marketed, especially to young people. The industry is using the same playbook that big tobacco used for decades. Social media campaigns, products that look like candy, celebrity endorsements, all designed to normalize and glamorize use during the most vulnerable period of brain development. When cannabis stores pop up near schools, when edibles are shaped like gummy bears, when social media influencers promote high THC products without mentioning risks, we're essentially conducting a massive, uncontrolled experiment on developing brains. The good news: technology is revolutionizing how we study cannabis and the brain. Advanced neuroimaging lets us see in real time how different cannabinoids affect brain activity. Genetic testing helps predict who's most at risk. AI-powered tools can even detect early warning signs of problems through smartphone data. Changes in typing speed, sleep patterns, or social interactions could signal developing issues. We're also seeing innovative study designs like N-of-1 trials, where each person serves as their own control, helping us understand the massive individual variation in cannabis responses. So how do we translate all this science into smart policy? It's tricky because we need to balance access for legitimate medical patients while protecting vulnerable populations, especially young people. The most effective approaches seem to involve age restrictions, 21 plus, potency caps on recreational products, mandatory labeling of exact cannabinoid content, and restrictions on marketing that targets youth. Some places are even implementing different rules for medical versus recreational markets. Looking ahead, imagine a world where cannabis use is truly personalized. Genetic testing could identify your risk profile. Biomarkers could predict your response to different formulations. AI could monitor for early signs of problems and suggest interventions. Real-time brain monitoring could optimize dosing for therapeutic benefits while minimizing risks. We're also seeing promising research on minor cannabinoids like CBG and CBN, and the complex ways terpenes might modify cannabis effects. The entourage effect, where different compounds work synergistically, could unlock therapeutic applications we haven't even imagined yet. But here's what needs to happen right now. We need honest, evidence-based education. Not scare tactics, not just say no, but real information about real risks and benefits. Parents need to understand why their teenager's brain is uniquely vulnerable. Young people need to know that waiting until 25 could be the difference between a life of cognitive clarity and one of persistent brain fog. Healthcare providers need training to screen for cannabis use and provide evidence-based guidance. For those already using cannabis, especially young people, early intervention can make a huge difference. Family-based interventions that improve communication and set clear boundaries are incredibly effective. School-based programs that teach students about brain development help them understand why certain choices carry specific risks. The key is meeting people where they are, not where we think they should be. If someone's going to use cannabis, let's help them do it as safely as possible while working toward healthier alternatives. Here's what we need to remember. Cannabis doesn't exist in a vacuum. Mental health, genetics, family environment, other substance use, socioeconomic factors, they all interact in complex ways. A comprehensive approach has to address all these factors, not just focus on one substance. We also need to acknowledge that cannabis prohibition has caused its own harms, particularly in communities of color. Smart cannabis policy means finding ways to repair past injustices while preventing new ones. So where does this leave you personally? Whether you're a parent, a young person considering cannabis, or someone currently using it, the science gives us some clear guidance. If you're under 25, the evidence strongly suggests waiting. Your brain is still under construction, and cannabis can interfere with that process in ways that might be permanent. If you're going to use cannabis despite the risks, choose products with lower THC and higher CBD content. Avoid daily use. Never smoke it. Don't combine it with alcohol. And be honest with healthcare providers about your use. If you're a parent, have open, honest conversations about brain development. Share this information without judgment. Create a supportive environment that reduces the appeal of substance use as an escape. Remember those two teenagers I mentioned at the beginning. The difference wasn't their genes, their family background, or even their access to cannabis. The difference was timing and education. The one who struggled started using high-potency cannabis at 16, used daily, often combined it with alcohol, and never understood the risks to his developing brain. The successful one waited until college, used occasionally, chose balanced products, and made informed decisions. That's the power of knowledge. Cannabis isn't inherently good or evil. It's a complex substance that affects everyone differently depending on age, genetics, patterns of use, and dozens of other factors. The question isn't whether cannabis is safe or dangerous, it's how we use the best available science to make decisions that protect the most vulnerable while respecting individual choice and maximizing potential benefits. Your brain is the most complex structure in the known universe. It deserves evidence-based protection, not ideology or marketing hype. The choice is yours, but now you have the information to make it wisely. What do you think? How should we balance individual freedom with public health protection? Let me know in the comments. And if this video helped you understand the complexity of cannabis and brain health, smash that like button and subscribe for more evidence-based health content. Until next time, take care of your brain. It's the only one you've got.